Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a horror comedy from 2001. That movie is Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. Now, this month, I have been watching the Tremors films, and so far, I have been really liking what I have been seeing. I liked the first Tremors, and I liked Tremors 2 Aftershocks even more. I'm kind of hoping for Back to Perfection here to kind of sort of continue that trend and continue being awesome. But I've had people warn me about this one. People told me that the third one is complete shit. I have no idea. I, honest to God, have no clue. The only thing I really know about this movie is that Burt is that the character of Burt is back once more, which is awesome because I've loved him in the first two movies. We're going back to, as the title says, we're going back to Perfection, Nevada, where the first film was set, and apparently the Graboids are getting yet another evolution. So we had the Graboids in the first film, we had the Shriekers in the second. I had to look up what the fuck those things were called, because they never call them by name in the second film. So we had Graboids in the first, we have Shriekers in the second, we got something new here. And I'm certainly hoping for it to be something even cooler than the fucking Shriekers, but I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, guys, I'm just hoping for this movie to be at least halfway decent, and the only way I'm going to find out if it is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. Well, guys, do you guys happen to remember when I covered the first Tremors and I joked about how Perfection has a population of 7? Well, I just saw their sign as Burt was driving back into town. Apparently now the town has a population of 5, so it's nice to see that Perfection is just a bustling little city in the middle of bumblefuck nowhere. Just, wow. I don't think I've ever seen a town with a population of just 5. That just seems kind of sad. You know, guys, it's actually kind of sad, you know. You would think as the movies go on and as tech gets better, you'd think that the puppets used in these things would get better. No, I finally got to see a Graboid. That puppet looked horrible. It actually made the puppet in the first film look like 1,000 times better. Good God, how cheap is this movie going to fucking be? I cannot believe I don't think I've ever been that let down by a fucking puppet in my entire life, guys. That was just awful. The irritating douchebag from the first film is now a real estate agent trying to buy up Perfection. I really didn't think that the little fucking turd could get any more irritating, but now that he's a scumbag realtor, I kind of hate him just a little bit fucking more. And I honestly kind of wish that they didn't put him in here, because the movie is already kind of sort of dull. To bring back the most annoying character from the first film is just making a bad movie a little bit worse. You know, guys, I never really thought I would say this. I'm bored watching a Tremors movie. After the first two were so good, I was hoping for at least the third one to be kind of sort of interesting, but no, it's kind of shit and I'm getting bored to fucking tears. I would do anything right now for just something to happen in this movie. Something. Fuck. Anything. But so far, guys, we've gotten nothing and this thing's becoming a bit of a chore to fucking watch. It's pretty fucking sad, guys, you know? I really kind of liked how the Graboids evolved into the Shriekers, but these new ones, these, I guess they're calling them Assblasters, these Assblasters suck. Oh my God, there's almost no threat to them. They look way too goofy to be, you know, like, to be actually fucking intimidating or frightening. Honest to God, guys, this is such a huge step fucking down, and it's similar to a bunch of other shit that's happened in this movie, it's making a rather bad movie just a little bit worse, and it's becoming harder and harder to fucking watch, man. Well, guys, that was Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. Let's shut that off. Wow. Just... wow. You know... I'm trying to figure out where to start. Okay, let's just talk about the quality of the film. I'm going to go into more detail, but I just want to stress this. The first two Tremors films were great. I mean, fuck, I said that the second one was just a hair better than the first. I liked them both. I was expecting something at least close to those in quality. We did not get that here. We got garbage. Just straight up, full-blown trash. This movie fucking sucked. I wanted to get that off my chest. Now let's try to go into detail. Let's try to explain why it sucks. Alright, so, writing. I certainly liked the fact that they went back to the site of the first film. I thought that was a really cool thing. I kind of like that they tried to continue the Graboid evolutionary cycle. Unfortunately, that is where this movie really begins to falter, is with this new stage. Because Graboids were awesome, Shriekers were just a little bit cooler, and then we get to the Assblasters, and everything falls apart. Because the Assblasters are Shriekers that fly by farting. No, guys, I am not kidding. They basically build up all of this, like, gas in their, in their fucking ass, and then they basically ignite it, and that's what causes them to get enough thrust, and then they just sort of glide. So basically they are a walking fart fucking joke and nothing else. And on top of that, where Graboids and Shriekers looked marginally threatening, the Assblasters don't. The Assblasters got this big fucking, like, beak on them, and it looks all goofy and kind of stupid. And these things apparently are what happens when Shriekers shed their skin. That would have made a little bit more sense if they looked a touch more like Shriekers, but the body shape is so drastically different that it would be a touch more than just shedding their fucking skin. Honest to God, guys, it just kind of feels as if they were just desperate to do something new, and they're like, I don't know, let's fucking have them fly, which would have been a cool concept all by itself. And then they decided to also make and then they decided to make their method of flight farting, and it just throws all fucking threat out the fucking window. It makes the whole thing feel ridiculously childish. I think that's probably the best way to sum up this whole movie, is it feels incredibly childish, and I'm not talking childish as in, you know, the fact that our main monster is a walking fart joke. I'm talking childish as in, this feels as if it was made more to appeal to children than it does to adults. I don't mean children like 6 years old, 7 years old. I'm talking like 13, 14 years old, you know, people who don't really care. They just want something that's sort of cool and goofy, and there's tons of shit blowing up. Now, mind you, there also was shit blowing up in the first two movies, but at least there it kind of felt necessary. Here, because we have creatures that are fucking propelled by lighting farts, naturally the easiest way to beat them is to either set them on fire or put them in a burning room, so we're guaranteed to have shit explode. Which was cool, like, the first two times, and then when they made their little spud fucking gun and they started shooting at these things, it just felt kind of forced and kind of stupid. Our characters, it was really cool that they brought back a lot of the characters from the first film, at least the ones that they could the ones that they could afford to bring fucking back, and while I didn't like the idea of them bringing back Melvin, because I still wish that Melvin had died in the first film, at least he's only in there for like 2 scenes, so it's no real big deal there. So while it was kind of cool that we have all these old characters coming back, it still doesn't help the fact that none of them have any real personality, which is kind of sad, because they at least had some personality when we saw them in the first film. Now they have almost nothing, and I'm noticing a pattern with these movies, and it's a pattern that's kind of tiresome. Across all 3 films, they have this forced-in, ham-handed romance-like angle in there, and it doesn't feel like it fits. It feels so fucking forced, and it just sort of brings the whole movie down. Ultimately, guys, our story just feels fucking lazy. Our new monsters feel just kind of, again, like lazy and sort of forced. And unlike the first 2 films, which were very high on humor and very witty humor at that, the humor here is nowhere near as sharp. It's nowhere near as witty. It's basically just juvenile fucking jokes that go nowhere. So writing in this thing was an absolute disaster, and it is the biggest sin this movie has. Now, while the writing sucks, I can at least say that the acting is decent. Our entire cast, we're really trying to polish this turd and make it work. And props to every single one of them. They tried their damnedest to get this lifeless bullshit dialogue to work. And in certain cases it kind of does, because the cast is that fucking good. So as much as I can rail on the acting, I cannot dump on... as much as I can rail on the writing, I cannot dump on the acting. The acting here was certainly strong. Now we're going to get to the other big sin this movie has, which is its special effects. Because I liked how the special effects were done in the first 2 films. I really liked the heavy emphasis on practical effects in the first film. There was still a very, very strong presence of practical effects in the second film, along with a little bit of CG, which has not aged the best, but was decent by 1996 standards. Now we have a movie that uses almost nothing but CG, and it looks like the kind of shit you would have seen on a Sci-Fi Channel original movie. Which basically is the long way of saying it's terrible. Guys, this movie was made in 2001. The CG scene in Tremors 2 looks infinitely better, and that was made back in 96. That means that in the 5 years between Tremors 2 and Tremors 3, the CG has gotten worse. It has gotten terribly worse. Where when we see our main Graboid, El fucking Blanco, who is, I guess, a sterile it's a sterile albino Graboid. Every single time that it like pops out of the ground, it looks hideous, because not only do we have the CG Graboid as it springs out of the ground, but we also then have the CG like ground, which has to sort of rise up in order to form the whole, and in certain cases, such as when the fucking thing is outside of Burt's compound, the dirt warps the concrete barrier that Burt put in order to keep Graboids out of his compound. So that just shows you that they didn't fucking care, and they just didn't put any real effort in. CG here is this is by far the worst CG in the entire franchise. However, that isn't saying much, because there wasn't a lot before this. But because this has such a huge, heavy emphasis on it, it becomes noticeably terrible, and it gets worse as the movie goes on. The CG you see early on when Burt is in, I believe he was in Argentina, and he's just gunning down Shriekers. It looked awesome. It looked fine. It looked kind of like something out of like Starship Troopers 2, which didn't have the best CG in the world, but it was at least serviceable. It looked kind of like that, and it got worse as the movie went on. Everything else, guys, about this movie, though, is kind of functional. I'm talking about lighting and camera work and, like lighting, camera work, staging, all of that is fine. Our sets, our sets look awesome. Our sets, in many cases, actually happen to look like the sets from the first film, so awesome props there. Honestly, guys, this movie is brought down by its horrific, childish writing and its even more god-awful CG. Those two things absolutely destroy this movie, and because of that, I cannot recommend Tremors 3. I cannot recommend it in any way at all, because I am willing to say that I am a fan of the first two films, having watched them for this series, and I was hoping for something similar. This thing was from the same writers. It was from the same guys who wrote the first two. I was expecting something decent, but no, they put no effort into the fucking script, and because of that, the movie suffers, and the CG, as terrible as the CG is, it's fucking worse, and holy mother of God. So no, guys, I cannot recommend Tremors 3. This movie was awful. It was fucking terrible. I certainly hope that the fourth one is better. The fourth one I know is a prequel, so at least there's, so at least maybe we'll get a story that might be marginally better, because it's not going to be directly tied into what we've seen these previous three films. At least it almost has to be better than the one I just saw. It really does. Anyway, Tremors 3 Back to Perfection, as well as the other three in this pack, came off the Amazon wishlist. The person who sent it in was Scorp. You can find his YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Scorpion104. Scorp, I thank you. I had no clue about this. Well, I didn't have a clue about any of these fucking things. And even though the first two were awesome, the third one was absolute shit, but I wouldn't have known that if you hadn't have sent in this, and for that, dude, I thank you. You are fucking awesome. Once more, that is youtube.com/user/Scorpion104. Oh, boy. I'm just a touch speechless, guys. I mean, I know that people warned me that this movie was going to suck, and I wasn't expecting it to suck this badly. I honest to God wasn't. I really thought it was just people blowing it out of fucking proportion. No. Every single person who warned me about this movie, you were totally right. This thing is fucking horse shit. And I'm certainly hoping for Tremors 4 and Tremors 5 to at least be decent, but yeah, I believe we have hit the low point in this fucking franchise, and I pray to God that it doesn't go any fucking lower. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.